Well, I'm not even going to bother with a standard introduction when it comes to this video, mostly due to the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about here today, and especially considering the person that we're going to be talking about here today. Someone that I ended up misplacing some trust in, and ended up abusing that trust in one of the worst ways that I could potentially even imagine. Obviously, I'm going to put a bit of a warning on the screen to just kind of let you guys know, so for those of you who are only listening to this video, please tune back into the video here, pay attention to the screen, know what you're about to be getting into, and if you still wish to stick around, then by all means stick around. If these topics are going to be a bit too heavy for you, then you're free to leave and take a look at a completely different video that's probably on the lighter side of things. Anyways, are you done reading the warning? Good. For those of you that stuck around, let's begin. Now this video is mainly going to be covering what I was presenting within the live stream in which I went over this information and publicly denounced this individual, well, as soon as possible. And of course, a few other bits of new information that I was given as well that was also presented within the live stream. This is mainly to condense what was shown off within the live stream and what was told within the live stream into a much more digestible format rather than, well, having people sit through an entire 4-hour-long live stream to gather up all the information here. Today we're talking about Vano, or as he's gone by in the past, Volt or Apex. We're mainly going to be going by his main name here, Vano, and for those of you who aren't really present within the Discord server or anything along those lines, or really just aren't too within the loop at all, and mainly know me from the live streams or from within certain videos, you may know him as Base Linuxer or Base Tux or whatever kind of OS that he was using that day. Now, of course, he has in fact deactivated his YouTube channel. In fact, if I were to kind of show off the fact that, well, any links to any of his live streams pretty much lead to a 404 screen stating that the person has turned off their own YouTube channel, then, well, it'll likely be on the screen. He has effectively decided to go completely off the grid, at least for right now, but of course it's likely that he's going to return considering, well, this isn't the first time that he's actually decided to do something like this. Now, of course, mind you, the initial videos that actually covered him way back in the past when he went under the name of Volt or Apex were in fact made by someone who I would consider to be unsavory in different ways. Of course, there's videos exposing that particular individual's own history of being extremely discriminatory, but I feel like it's necessary to at least take the, well, evidence shown off within those videos by the merit of the evidence itself, rather than the merit of the individual presenting them, if that makes any kind of sense. Now, of course, I will leave links to those videos down below if you truly wish to take a look at those for yourself, but like I mentioned before, this video is not going over any of the information presented within those videos. It's mainly going over the information that I presented within the live stream, and of course just giving further elaborations on some of that. Now, on the night in which this information was brought to my attention by one of the unnamed victims, I immediately confronted him with this information to let him know that I got this information from someone else entirely, that I got this information from a completely separate party from this Timmy individual that I, at that point, completely forgotten even existed, at least until, well, Rince ended up letting me know and actually ended up getting confused by the source that gave me this information. Again, I did not get any of this information from this Timmy logo individual. I got this information from a victim of this man, and of course ended up getting into a group chat with 2 other victims of this person, which pretty much range in age, at least as of today, from between like 16 to 17 years old to about 19 years old. At the time of these screenshots, these individuals are obviously younger, ranging from around 15 years old to around 16 or 17. And apparently 2 of these victims have been underneath this man's thumb since they were at least 9, so do the math right there for you to figure out just how scary that thought is. Some of the screenshots that I was in fact given while I was confronting Vano about this is just genuinely almost gut-wrenching in some aspects. Like, for example, we have this screenshot right here of him speaking with someone who is approximately 16, possibly going on 17 at this time, showing off a very risque desktop background that he decided to create with no sort of, like, spoiler or anything along those lines. Just straight up showing off something blatantly sexual to someone who is underage. And of course, once again, we have more conversations here with another anonymous victim here, recalling incidents where apparently Vano was doing something shady behind the scenes, and back then there was no thought about it, but looking back, it was realized that it was something a lot more disgusting. honestly, it is something very vile. I'll have you read the screenshots for yourself. I cannot really bear to even read them myself. Again, if you want a more in-depth look into some of this, as well as a little bit more of a lighter tone on some things, after all, we kind of got a little bit into a jokier mood towards the latter half of that entire live stream, then go ahead and check out the live stream if you truly want to. And of course, you can see my overall live reaction to a lot of this information as I was presenting it. Even now, talking about this, I just can't help but feel just genuine horror that this was someone that I thought that I could put trust into. And of course, as a bit of a lesser crime in comparison to what we've already gone through here, he would also lie about other smaller things too, like possessing firearms and being part of like big name Friday Night Funkin' mods for whatever reason. Like, it was extremely weird, that's really all I have to say, and it's just more indication of just how much this man is willing to lie in order to make himself seem like he's better than he really is. Now, of course, I'm probably showcasing some of the screenshots on screen right here that were given to me while I was confronting Vano with this prospect that I could potentially be given evidence that could disprove him. He decided that it would be a good idea to lie to my face shortly before I was given any evidence, which I just still cannot believe to this day. This man decided to lie to my face, telling me that, you know, all of this information was made up, and moments afterwards I was given information proving otherwise, and the moment that I showed him this information, he immediately groveled on his knees and begged for forgiveness. Forgiveness that obviously I wouldn't give him because, well, one of the main things that I don't really take kindly to are people that are willing to lie directly to my face, especially about something like this. And of course, when I was initially confronting Vano about this information, or at least when I made a community post about it, he went into Rince's DMs and was starting to threaten self-harm. And yes, we are in fact getting into another bit of, you know, the warning that I was placing at the beginning of this entire video here. He began threatening to harm himself right in front of Rince, and even to an extent, Vano was doing this to me when I was confronting him with this information. And obviously this was more or less just to try and play at our emotions, rather than, well, an actual genuine threat, which is just highly unbelievable.
But yeah, just a warning real quick, if, like, a trigger warning, if anyone, like, you know, doesn't like topics of, like, self-harm, blah, 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 we're about to get into that, you know, I don't know if I need to put a trigger warning on a stream like this, but shit. Doing it anyway.
At this point,
I appreciate it.
We're...
you know, so, as he probably knows, and as maybe some of you guys know in the chat, because, you know, I know me, Sanity, Pluvius, Destructor, we cross audiences. So, if one thing happens with somebody on a server, kind of like everybody knows about it, kind of, in a way. So, recently, my friend, for as far as I know, as of now, killed himself. And before he did that, he slandered my name all over the place by bringing up old DMs of me saying some very fucked up shit that I do not stand by. And I had to, like, clear my name regarding that, okay? And yeah, he fucking, like, you know, like I said, as far as I know now, he's more than likely dead. And I am very, very sure that Vano saw this and was like, you know what, maybe I can use this to pull on his heartstrings. You know what I mean? And I saw in the group chat briefly, somebody mentioned that who else has been threatened with suicide, etc. So I'm not the first person he's done this to.
He did that to me too.
So, I'm not the first person he's done this shit to.
I mean, hell, so... he was doing that to me as I was confronting him with this stuff. It's genuinely disgusting to me that someone would actually stoop as low as to do something like that when confronted with information proving them to be disgusting. It's just, what do I even have to say about something like that? And of course there's a few other testimonies here, and I will, well, play a couple of those for you right now that aren't really too related to the primary crimes of Vano here, but of course just kind of show the overall kind of person that Vano really, truly was behind the scenes.
I got the information from a third party, and I brought it to Sanity, and I'm like, what? Also... yeah. I'm who he's talking about with the riot. He doesn't even call me by my new name. And he constantly calls me she, so he's also homophobic and transphobic on top of that. No, okay. I'm gonna explain it.
Okay.
So, he would talk to me about Linux stuff. And then one time he was talking about some certain kind of driver thing. I'm not sure. I don't know. He just talked at me about stuff, and I didn't really understand any of it.
I'll be honest, I was kind of the same way. Also, another message here from Warren. As someone who has lost a friend to self-termination, I only feel it necessary to point out that those who are intent on ending it typically won't show it or mention it openly.
Exactly. As somebody who has had somebody who has done that, they don't show it until it's too late. So, that's another thing. But he would constantly talk at me about things. And then at one point, he was talking about a specific distro thing. And then he got into talking about the Columbine shooting.
I'm sorry?
What the fuck?
He got into talking about the Columbine shooting and then sent me pictures of the fucking crime scene where the two shooters had killed themselves. He sent me photos of that and then continued to go on a rant about the guns that they used.
He needs to be locked up. I'm sorry. This is no.
Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. He was talking about a Linux distro. He was talking about a Linux distro, and then all of a sudden I'm being sent pictures of some people who had shot themselves. He also would randomly send me pictures of guns and shit and say, oh yeah, this is my gun. Or, well, it's not my gun, but it's the same model. He would constantly say he had all these firearms, but he would never send pictures of his. But I was able to do a reverse image search on only one of the pictures, because the other one, it kept fucking up. But it was a stock image.
Oh my fucking goodness.
It was a fucking stock image.
But overall, that's kind of where everything ends right now. Again, a couple videos will be linked down below going over some of this man's past actions before even encountering us, and the very things that he wanted us to try and defend him against. It's only likely that he's going to be finding another group of individuals that will likely try to go to bat for him, and hopefully they don't make the same mistake that I would have actually made if I decided to go through with a defense video. Thinking back on it now, I'm actually just genuinely glad that I was too distracted with other things to even properly put together an actual defense video for this man, and I genuinely feel sick to my stomach even thinking that I was even thinking of actually defending this guy. If I had actually known that any of the information presented was actually credible beyond the person who was presenting the evidence, I honestly probably would have booted this man even sooner. Of course, hindsight is always 20/20, and to anyone that may have been put at risk by this man, I'm genuinely sorry. Of course, he is no longer present within any of our circles. Rince has since banned him from his server, and Vano ended up leaving my server on his own accord after, well, getting into a heated argument on my behalf for some reason about low-effort commentary channels. Something that wasn't even in regards to me in the first place, so I don't even know what in the hell he was thinking there. But overall, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Sanity, and have yourselves a nice day.